Hey there YouTube, Logan with Hideaway Homestead here, coming to you today with a quick video. I guess it's going to be quick, we'll see. Since I did last Monday's video on a build project, I figured that I'd do today, being Monday, another build project. And so today I'm going to be talking about this little brooder that I'm building for our chickens and our ducks. It's going to be a portable brooder to be able to move them over grass. And now that we have Skoda on the team, we have a whole lot of protection. And I'll have to see if I can't get a picture of the temporary place that they're in right now, but they've been sleeping outside with no cover on them. I don't recommend that. Now, I'm not saying to just, if you have a livestock guardian dog, just let your baby chicks be out in the open. But I mean, they're really close to the house. They all they've got is just wire around them. They're under a roof, and they have like half of that wire that they're in uncovered. But Skoda, she's on it. She sleeps right next to the camper and keeps barking at everything that comes around and at night, no matter what it is. And I even pull up sometimes and she doesn't realize it's me, and she'll start barking. So she's a real good watchdog, and definitely a good guard dog too of our animals. But we're gonna get them into a little rain shelter. I wanted to talk about what I'm building here. So I see people on the internet, and especially on YouTube, just talking about cheap structures, to build. And the thing about it is there's no cheap structure. I mean, I guess you can get you can be more economical with them. You can be more efficient with your building materials and everything. But the thing is you've got, to me, there's two trade-offs, right? So you've got one, you can build something really cheap material-wise, or two, you can build something cheap labor-wise. And so if you go to the store and you just buy something that's already built, that's cheap labor-wise. You didn't have to labor except for, well, the money that you earned, but you didn't have to put any labor into that structure, which it still kind of has that cost in it. When you build out of just scrap materials, a lot of times there are a lot of costs that go into it. So I'm going to call this, instead of a cheap chicken tractor, I'm going to call it an economically efficient. That's what we're going to call it. But anyway, so what I'm doing today is I've got some wire here. This is the same rabbit wire that I use for building cages, and I've rolled out a 24 foot section of this because I'm building a 6x6 chick brooder / tractor. And this stuff is like if you buy it in the big 100-foot rolls, it's pretty much $1 a foot, a little over $1 a foot. So you're looking at, we'll say right at $25, and you can get 4 pins out of one roll. So that's pretty efficient. Now this is only going to be 2 foot high, which is actually fine for pretty much any chicken. Some of your really larger breeds wouldn't be able to cut it in a 2 foot high, but most of your other chickens and ducks and stuff will be just fine. I started to use some of this coated wire that I got, but this stuff's just harder to work with, and you got to build a frame and everything. I'm going to save it for something else. I'm not sure what exactly I'm going to use it for yet, but I'm going to make something out of it. I might do something for the pigeons out of this. But anyway, so there's that. That is $25, okay? And over here we have our scrap pieces of lumber. So these are just rips, little skinny pieces. And I made some bracing out of scrap pieces of wood. So all you're doing is you're cutting a 45 on each side to where you can brace your corners. Because this thing's still pretty flimsy right now, so you wouldn't want to just build something out of this. See how it wobbles? But it's not something you would just want to build just out of these type panels. But if you braced them off a little bit more, maybe But you know, this is just part of the frame. The extra structural integrity is going to come from the wire, because we're going to wrap it around it, staple it together, and then take the two ends and J clip them. And well, speaking of Skoda, there she is, and there's one of the Squidwards. They've kind of started to become friends, kind of love-hate relationship. But over here, I've got my two frames. So this is going to be the top, and I used this big scrap piece of board that I had to, this actually came off the mill, you can tell because it's rough cut. I used this right here to brace where I'm gonna hang a waterer. And over here, this is gonna be the bottom. It's flipped upside down right now, so we'll flip it over. But what I wanted to really emphasize on this is the skids. So every portable shelter to me should have skids. Reason being that, number one, when you move the pins, you're gonna drag one end of this if you don't have skids. And so it's gonna put stress on your structure. Now I've only got 3/4 inch skids. As you can see, I mitered here. You always want to miter them, and then miter down there to where it's like a sled. And number two being that if you're dragging that, a lot of times you're gonna get chickens and stuff that are gonna get caught up underneath it. If it's raised up off the ground a little bit, it'll kind of bump into them. I'm not saying that they couldn't get caught, but it's gonna help that tremendously. 3/4 of an inch is not near enough for any of them to squeeze up underneath, so it'll still be plenty close to the ground. And you can come in and screw these skids on, which brings me into reason number 3. I'm just gonna nail them, but because I can come in here if I ever need to replace them and just roll this and they'll come off real easy. I'm just gonna, well, I say nail, put some staples in them. But you can screw them on because you can replace them, because this is gonna extend the life of your shelter. If you've got this board sitting on the ground, in ground contact, or this board over here, it's gonna start to rot because it's got that ground contact. Now, does that mean that you're not gonna get any rot whatsoever? Probably not, but you know, the skids will help to be a sacrificial board. It's way easier just to replace 2 skids every season, or every couple of seasons, or every 3 seasons, than it is to replace a whole bottom. So that's another reason. And I'll throw in a little building tip here as I'm building this. I'm gonna have to pause and do some more steps. Videoing and doing at the same time just doesn't work. So like, let me get a little piece of scrap here. So like, say I wanted to cut these brace pieces or cut my skids. This is an animal shelter, so people are not gonna care about how your miters look as far as if they're fuzzy on one end. So what you do is you come in and you set your saw to 45 degrees. A lot of people are gonna know this, but this is just for maybe somebody who's a beginner and wouldn't know. You come in, well, first of all, you never try to cut a piece this small. Your fingers are way too close. I get my fingers pretty close sometimes, but that's just extremely uncomfortable. But you cut that way, and so then you'll end up with a miter like this, right? And so then what you're gonna do is you're just gonna flip it. And so if we flip this one, that puts that one over there, and then it's gonna give us a miter like this. And so you have, it's basically like a triangle. Hope that was enough of a visual and makes sense without me trying to cut and video at the same time. But yeah, it'll leave one side that's gonna be a little fuzzy, but I promise you, your chickens are not gonna die on you because they're like, oh no, the chicken tractor doesn't look perfect. So yeah, I've got my 3 pieces so far, and once we get like ready for a roof and everything, I will get to that. But I'm gonna pause right here and come back to y'all once we've got a little more complete. All right, y'all, the wind has really picked up, so sorry if the audio quality sucks, but here we are. I've got, let's see here, got everything except for the lid on, and I put these pieces of metal here on the side. These are just scrap pieces of metal, 2 foot tall, and I put them on this side because this is going to be the side where the prevailing winds and storms comes. So we're going to put the corner of it on going south west, because we get all our weather from the southwest, any of our bad, you know, sideways rain stuff. So that'll give them a good area to stay dry. This part right here will be 10. I'm gonna hang my water here. The only thing is where I'm gonna have access. I'm gonna put an access door over here and an access door over there, and maybe just do it like that. But it's gonna be just a little difficult, I guess, to reach up under there and get that water. That could be perhaps designed differently. I just want to keep the water somewhere where it will at least be in the shade. And I'm doing a 3-foot piece of metal right here, so it is going to cover it some. And that may be a little bit of an issue, but I don't think it's going to be too big of an issue. And once I get the metal on, this thing's going to be even more stable than what it is. Now, it moves real easily because of the skids, you know, you can just slide it. But the only thing that some people might worry about is, like, this thing is not, like, you can see the corner, you know, jiggles, and that side over there jiggles, and it kind of sits with the land, which for these types of structures is really good if you can have just a little bit of give in them. So that way, if you've got a low spot, they can kind of lay into that low spot. Now, you can build them real rigid and real strong if you want to, but a lot of these lightweight shelters, the reason why they're so awesome and portable is because they are lightweight. Like with this right here, I'm probably gonna have to go over there, I think, and trim that metal a little bit because it's dragging some. But that's got our next step, and or we could just pull it this way. That's got our next step, and we'll come back when I've got some more of this coop done. Alrighty, y'all, change of plans here. I've got the wire on here. I think I just showed that in the last clip, but I get confused sometimes. But everything's together. Actually, I may not have shown this in the last clip. I don't think I did. I just put 2x4 inch welded wire on top of this. You could do 2 runs of this, and you would be at, let's see here, that's 12, 24, 36 feet of wire. And so it would require, you would be able to get a little bit less, but you could put anything on top of this. I mean, it could be wood slats, it could be metal, it could be whatever you wanted. Now with the door, I'm changing something here. I was gonna cut out some wire doors, but decided against that. I'm not gonna need to access this a lot. The only time you really need to access it is to be able to catch the chickens. And you can do that with a couple of people, somebody on this side and somebody just hops in over here. I've made a frame here for my metal. I'm doing it kind of like I've done my rabbit tractors in the past. I'm having it to where I can just lift a metal roof off. And so I'm gonna attach this piece right here to the metal that I have, and that way you can kind of just pull it out and access either side, or take the whole thing off to be able to access the birds. And that way I'll be able to access my water here real easy, and the feed and everything. Yeah, I was not thinking when I was talking about the last time about pulling it that way. You don't want to pull the, or pulling it this way, you don't want to pull the birds towards the light. So if I'm pulling this way, the chickens want to go to the light, so they're going to go over to that side. It's better to pull from this side, so that way they don't want to hang out there in the back when things are moving, and they'll move towards the light. Just to keep them from getting up on that back side as much as we can. But yeah, this is gonna be my door, and I'm just gonna go get my piece of metal, attach it to it. Something to note is to make your piece that's sitting down in here about a 1/2 inch smaller. Now it may look really loose, you may be worried about that, but it's too hard to get that out if you make it any bigger, because for one, the thing has to be sitting perfectly square, which is never gonna be sitting on the ground like this. And then two, if you ever have any rain that gets in up under there, or moisture, humidity in the air, and that wood swells, this thing's gonna just close up tight. So you want it real loose. 1/2 inch is about the bare minimum for me to make sure that it never gets hung like that. And it'll stay really dry underneath the metal, so shouldn't have a problem with it, but it can be an issue. I'm gonna go get the metal there and put it on, and I'm gonna go ahead and get the water hung in here and get it into place and everything. When I come back, we'll have chicks and ducklings in it. I know that this is not the subject of the video, and some people may not like this. I normally don't like it when people in videos get sidetracked, but I just had to show y'all this. On this piece of metal that I just got, there are baby praying mantis all over it. And I'm really hoping I didn't squish any of the little guys. But super, super awesome. I've seen 3 so far, but I'm sure there's more. They must have just hatched out. I'm wondering if there's an egg sack that I missed around here somewhere. But anyway, back to the build. All right, quick little add-on here before I get to the part where we put the chicks in here and everything. I've got this water hanging, and we can start out with our chicks. I mean, this is pretty much touching the ground. He can swing a little bit, but it's real low. Good for chicks just starting out. And as we go, so I've got it strung through here with just a knot tied in it through this board. And so as we go, I made some notches here, and we can just raise it up as they grow. So that's, you know, up to the next level there. And I've just put it about every 3/4 of an inch, so you can raise them up. And I was going to show you, if you're limited on tools, you can do this with a drill bit. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one of these holes with one hand here, which really should be all I need. I just like having my other hand to hold it steady. But I'm gonna come about 3/4 there, and you wanna get as close to the edge as you possibly can. And you're gonna just make a hole. Let me get the camera here right. Okay, we got a hole, and now you're just gonna waller it out. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna lean back this way and cut, and then you're gonna lean in back this way. And you go back and forth like that, and it'll make a notch. So if you don't have any kind of saw that will do that, which I've got a jigsaw and everything, it's just easier when you've got the tools that you need already to come in and just, you know, make do. So you can just waller that out, make you a good notch. So now we've got it to where we can lift it all the way up to where when they're adult birds, if you had any in here, we're probably not going to use this for adult birds ever, I don't know, but they'd be up high enough that it'd be right at their beak height. So yeah, wanted to add that in just to show how to do that with a drill bit, but we'll talk about all the features of this pen as soon as we get the ducks and chicks in. I promise the next video is going to be that. All right, everyone, and here we have the completed product. I had realized when I got here that I had put the tin on the wrong side. It was not facing south west, so you always move these pins east just because you're going to be facing away from the weather or wherever your weather comes from. Most of it's, you know, from the southeast. And I went ahead and got this long piece here. It almost runs all the way to the bottom. You would need some serious storms to get in under that. But we've got the chicks and the ducklings in here, and they are having a ball. They're drinking. I've got my water here adjusted just right for them, and they're eating tons of grass. The little ducks will eat a whole lot more grass than the chicks will. They're kind of a grazer. You can see a little guy back there really going to town. But we've got 17 Muscovy ducklings, and then we've got 12 chicks. Now some of them are Easter eggers. We went and bought some at Tractor Supply, which I would not advise anybody doing just because they're so high, but they were there and we got them, so here we are. We've got some what they were calling, I think, primitive barred rock, and then those brown ones are some kind of tinted egg layer. I think they're some kind of green. I can't remember exactly what it was they were called. They've got them for sale at Tractor Supply. I should have took a picture. I had never heard of the breed before. So that's going to wrap it up for our pen build here. just want to kind of give everybody a little bit of a look here. I put a piece of tent over here too, just in case we want to move these things north, especially during the summer. You're not going to be getting any Arctic winds coming down, you know, freezing the chicks or ducklings when you're in the middle of summer. So we could move these from west to east or from south to north and be just fine. But yeah, it's just made out of wire. We've got our frames, we've got our lid there. This here is all wire and is going to be open to the sun, but you could very easily just attach some more tin if you wanted more shade for them. Or like I'm probably going to do is as it gets hotter and we're raising babies, I'm going to put shade cloth over this just to give them some more shade. And that's pretty much it. So pros and cons about this. Pro is it's extremely light, really easy to build, affordable to build as far as your materials. You're not going to put a whole lot of time into it. And then cons would be is it's not very sturdy, which I mean you shouldn't have these things out if you're going to have, you know, tornadoes or whatever. A tornado is going to take away, you know, your regular chicken coop. So you know, heavy winds shouldn't be an issue for this one just because it's got so much wire that the wind will just pass through it more and won't be able to get up under that area that we've got facing to the west and flip the thing over. Now in some really heavy winds it probably would, so that's something to keep in mind. This thing's not really predator proof. It needs to be accompanied with either electric fencing or a livestock guardian dog, something like that. But it is a pretty simple pen to build. It kind of is like a Joel Salatin chicken tractor, but it's you know, my own design. I've found out with the wire it seems to come out a lot cheaper building them like that with, you know, a lightweight frame. But yeah, it might be something you could be interested in building. But I think most homesteaders have their own twist they put on everything. I don't think I've ever watched a video and said, oh, I'm gonna build that thing specifically. So hopefully it gave you some ideas and things that you can do to improve your buildings that you have on your homestead and your portable coops and tractors and everything else. And hopefully you got some ideas from it. But anyway, that's pretty much it for the build there. If you've got any questions or comments, drop those down below. If you found any value in the video, please leave a like. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, go ahead and do so. I drop a video like this every day, Monday through Friday. I appreciate all y'all watching, and we'll see you in the next one.